There is a pattern I see consistently across companies that are otherwise well run. Their internal systems are organized, their finances are tight, their operations have structure. But when you look closely at how they handle communication, not strategy, not branding, just the day-to-day movement of information between people, departments, and clients, it is surprisingly underdeveloped. Not broken, not chaotic, just underdeveloped. Like something that was never really designed, it just accumulated over time. And the reason that matters right now, in 2026, is that communication is increasingly the layer where AI either delivers value or gets stuck. If that layer is underdeveloped, no tool fixes it, no automation rescues it. The structural problem underneath stays exactly where it is. What you're watching right now is an AI clone, a digital version of me, Ronald, founder of Data Wonder. We build AI automation and voice agent systems for real businesses. Insurance companies, accounting firms, medical clinics. Organizations where the volume of repetitive work is high and the cost of human time is real. I use AI every single day, not theoretically, but in actual deployments with actual consequences. This channel exists because most AI content misses what actually happens inside companies. Today's topic is a good example of that. If you care about the business side of AI, the organizational reality, not the product demos, subscribe. There are no hype cycles here, just what we observe. So let's go back to communication. Most companies treat it as infrastructure, like electricity or office space, something you assume is working until it visibly stops. You hire people, they communicate, emails go out, calls get answered, documents move around. Nobody questions the system because the system produces output. The lights are on. But here is the assumption embedded in that thinking, that communication is a background function, not a core business process, that it runs itself, that its inefficiencies are just the cost of doing business. That assumption is wrong, and the cost of it has been growing for years, mostly invisibly. Think about what actually happens inside a company when a client sends in a question. In an insurance firm, that question might go to an inbox. Someone reads it, decides who it belongs to, forward it. That person is in a meeting. It waits, gets picked up later, gets a partial answer. Client follows up. The same loop begins again. The average resolution time for something that could be answered in 90 seconds ends up taking 2 days. Nobody flags it as a problem because it has always been this way. In a medical clinic, the scenario is slightly different, but structurally identical. Patient calls, the line is busy, calls again, reaches reception. The question is routine rescheduling, a prescription refill request, a document they need sent. It takes maybe 4 minutes to handle, but the receptionist handles 40 of those calls a day, while also managing the front desk, tracking no-shows, and supporting the practitioners. The routine is the volume. The volume is the problem. Now here is where most companies make the next mistake. They recognize this is inefficient. They decide to fix it, and the fix they reach for is more people, or a better CRM, or a new ticketing system. What they are doing is addressing the symptom, the inbox management, the call routing, the response tracking. They are adding structure to a broken process without questioning the process itself. The process itself. Why does a human need to be the first point of contact for every single incoming message? Why is a skilled professional spending a meaningful portion of their week answering questions that follow a completely predictable pattern? That question rarely gets asked, not because people are unaware, but because it requires reimagining something that has always been a certain way. This is where voice agents become relevant, and I want to be direct about the resistance, because it is real and it is consistent. When we talk to clients about deploying a voice agent to handle inbound communication, the first reaction is almost always protective. They worry it will feel impersonal, that clients will notice, that there will be complaints, that it signals something about how much the company values its customers. That reaction is understandable. It is also not supported by the evidence. What we actually see after deployment is different. The routine load disappears from the human queue. Response times drop. The human staff now handles the calls that actually require judgment: the complicated claim, the anxious patient, the accountant who needs a nuanced answer. Those conversations improve because the person handling them is not depleted from 40 minutes of scheduling calls before noon. The voice agent is not replacing the human relationship. It is protecting the human relationship from being buried under volume. But here is what most companies do not anticipate. And this is the second-order effect that gets missed almost every time. When you remove the routine communication load from a team, you expose something. You reveal how much of the remaining communication is also underdeveloped. Not routine, but still vague. Requests that lack context, internal handoffs that have never been documented, escalation paths that exist in someone's head, but nowhere in writing. The team has been so occupied with the inbound volume that nobody had the capacity to notice the structural gaps underneath. Suddenly, they do. And that moment is where companies either move forward intelligently or get stuck. The ones that get stuck treat the voice agent as the end of the project. They deployed a tool. The tool works? Done. They do not revisit the workflows it exposed. They do not rebuild the escalation logic that is now clearly broken. They do not ask what else in their communication stack could be redesigned. The ones that move forward treat it as a diagnostic. The deployment revealed the shape of the problem. Now they can work on the actual problem. That distinction is not about technology. It is about how the organization relates to its own processes. Whether there is someone with ownership and the authority to act on what the data shows. This is why communication keeps being treated as an afterthought. Not because companies are careless, but because it is genuinely difficult to see a process clearly when you are inside it and busy with it every day. The volume of routine work creates its own kind of fog. You cannot evaluate what you cannot step back from. AI creates a step back. That is its most underrated function. When a voice agent handles the first layer of communication, and you start seeing patterns in what comes through, which questions recur, which escalations happen most, which clients are most time-intensive, you are suddenly reading your own operation with a clarity that was not available before. That data exists in every company. It just has never been separated from the noise. The companies that are building durable advantages right now are not necessarily the ones with the most advanced AI systems. They are the ones that are using what they deploy to understand themselves better, and then acting on that understanding. Communication is not an afterthought. It is the connective tissue of the entire organization. Everything that happens between people, between teams, between the company and its clients is communication. When it works, you do not notice it. When it does not, every other system degrades. The question worth sitting with is not which tool to adopt. The question is, what is your communication actually costing you right now? Not in theory, in hours, in friction, in client satisfaction, in staff capacity. Most companies have never calculated that number, not because it is hard to calculate, because nobody has been given the time or the mandate to look. If that is where you are, that is usually where it starts. I am curious what you see in your own work where communication quietly breaks down in ways that never get fixed. Leave your answer below. The patterns are worth talking about. If you would like to explore how AI can work for your business specifically, you can book a free call with me. The link is right below this video.